Hello, everybody. What's up? It's the one and only African superstar and the one and only Sister Yaa, my very good friend. Big shout out to you, babe. Thank you so much for stopping by.
No problem. No problem.
For,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, always a pleasure. You know, this is a rare pleasure for me. Obviously, Sister Yaa and I have spent substantial time living in Ghana, and a few weeks ago, a video popped up about a young lady who's leaving Ghana, moving to Jamaica, and Sister Yaa actually brought the video to my attention, and we kind of wanted to go over some of the things that she raised because I think we both agree that many members of the diaspora heading to the continent are not situating themselves properly before coming to, to various countries in Africa. I mean, the way some people are handling it is if it's, a road trip where you just pick up your bag and you're going to settle in a new country with a new culture, especially if you've never traveled there, you don't know much about the people. So I've actually compiled a list of some of the things. We actually had a long discussion about this, and that's what motivated the show today. So big shout outs to Sister Yaa. Big shout outs also to the African Superstar family. Guys, if you're in the chat room, please make sure you engage with us during this conversation. After we go through our topics, we will come to you. Make sure you like the stream. If you're happy to see Sister Yaa, make sure you greet her in the chat room. She's a very rare creature here on YouTube these days. Hello. So So big shout out, Sister Yaa. You want to chip in before I start with the list?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that was just one video, but maybe a lot of people are aware that there are several videos out there by different YouTubers talking about why people are leaving Ghana. So that has been a topic amongst people. And so you and I, like you said, we're having a discussion. I want to say beforehand that I am in the midst of traveling and I'm currently in Nashville, Tennessee at my daughter's house, and my little grandbaby who will be 1 year old on the 11th is around. So y'all might hear him from time to time in the background. Just wanted to let people know. So
Sister Yaa's adorable nephew, her adorable grandson, my nephew. Hello. Yes. So he's so amazing. So he may be making noise and going up and down in the background. That's what she's letting us know. So yeah, I mean, this is a huge topic. Obviously, both Sister Yaa and I, we are personalities of sorts. So whenever these things come up, people send the videos to her, they send them to me. Oh, African Superstar, what do you think? Oh, such and such is leaving. And, so we're going to talk about this. So in the particular video that we're referring to, which I know a lot of you guys have seen because it went viral a couple weeks ago, there's a young lady, I went and recapped the video today. There were a lot of things that she talked about were challenges for her time in Ghana. Now, what I understand, this lady, she bounced around a bit. So when she originally came to Africa, she went to Tanzania. And then from there, she pivoted to Ghana. And now she's heading to Jamaica. And, from the outside looking in, that would kind of be indicative to you really haven't made those decisions prior to moving. In essence, you're touring to find the place that is going to be your home. And I know in her case, she also has a child. So I know that, the situation of moving without children, like what I've done, is different than moving with children. Like, for instance, what Sister Yaa has done. She moved to Ghana with her eldest daughter and her youngest son at a period, and, had to go through the whole school system and helping him to acclimate to the environment. So it's a totally different situation if you're coming with kids. So I think that would be challenging in itself, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Sister Yaa, you want to chip in on the kids element of moving with children to the continent?
Yeah, it's very important because a lot of parents, I think, are doing it because they want to do it. It's something they want to do, and they don't really think through how it will affect
their kids feel about it.
especially children who are not like small infants who can just get into the system and then grow up with it, and that's all they really know. But to bring children who lived abroad, who are accustomed to things outside, and then to bring them there, it's an adjustment. It is. I initially went to Ghana back in 2013. I started going to Ghana way before that, like in 2010. And then I made a move there in 2013 and stayed there. At that time, my daughter was 17 and my son was 3,
Mm.
and stayed that we came back when he was 5, 2 years later in 2015, because Ghana was going through, at that time, they had an energy crisis. And everything was really messed up. Doomsor was off the chain, trying to go through that with lights out for 12 hours a day and all of that. But, Malik, yeah, I can hold him if you want. If, Sorry about that.
Oh shoot, the grandbaby about to make his debut on the African Superstar channel. Come on, boo. Let me see you. I haven't seen a lot of pictures of him anyway.
They took him in another room.
Oh,
So
okay. I'm like, you're welcome to my channel, sweetheart.
Mazi is his name. But anyway, yeah, so my daughter at 17, I can say this. When she went there at 17, I mean, she was okay with it. Um, I think, but when she came back again in her 20s, because when I came back in 2020, she was in her mid 20s. She,
20s.
she she liked it better when she came back in her 20s than she did at 17.
At a teenager. Yeah.
Yeah, and then my little one was 3, and he liked it better when he was a little bitty kid going to preschool and
A
kindergarten
lot
and
of
stuff.
kids.
He
Yeah.
liked it a lot better than he did when he went back at 10. He did, and he just came back at 15, and he for his perspective, he doesn't want to live in Ghana. He didn't like it. He didn't enjoy it. The things that he liked to do, the activities, the places he likes to go, the food that he likes to eat, all of that is in America. So
Okay.
he's in high school. He started the ninth grade there, and then the end of the first semester, he was like, I don't want to do high school in Ghana. I want to go back to the States. So that's why I'm back. On this side to give him that. That's his right. You know what I'm saying? That's his. He, it's not just about me. You know what I'm saying? If he's not happy, I took him there, and he wants to come back and at least finish high school. I can honor that because I can always go back. My house is there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I, I have myself established there. So just so he can come back and experience his high school years, which are very important to a kid. And he was not enjoying school in Ghana at all. He just wasn't. He didn't like it, and I think I've discussed that with you. He just wasn't having a good time. He
Right.
wasn't really. He from his perspective, he said he didn't have anything in common. The things that he was interested in, the things he wanted to talk about, everything. He just felt like kind of like an outcast. He didn't
Disconnected.
feel
Yeah.
like, yeah, that he had anything in common with the children that he went to school with. And he went to a number of, and it was always private schools. And, because before my house was finished, we lived a few different areas in Accra, around Accra. So he went to a few different private schools. And then the last one he was in, but it just never got any better for him. He went to school and he did well in terms of his grades and stuff, but socially, it wasn't hitting for him. You know what I'm saying? Socially, it just wasn't. And I can say since he's been back, he's much
Yeah.
happier. Yeah, he's in a magnet school, where they have all type, better equipment for the schools in terms of every child is assigned a Chromebook in here. He get the electives that he wants to take, and like he's in piano. That's what he wanted to take, and next would be guitar. They offer that as electives. They offers driver's ed. He's getting ready to take that in his 10th grade year. So in a lot of ways, he's still performing very well. He got an academic award when he came back. His teachers in the States are very impressed with him. And they were talking about how well mannered he is coming from Africa, from that system, and how focused he is on school. So there were some benefits to him that he probably didn't recognize in terms of academics, but socially it wasn't working for him. So I
I
think
understand. Okay.
parents need to think about their children and the effects that it's going to have on them. Fortunately for me, I have a system in place on this side so I can move in between both places. I didn't have to say, okay, every, when he said he wanted to go home, it was just my husband is, you know, still here in Alexandria working, and we still got the apartment. So I just got on a plane and came back home and registered in school. It's not like I had to, I left everything and didn't have anything over here. And then it was going to be difficult for me to come back. You know what I'm saying? I think some people, they have it in their mind that they're never going to have to come back, and then they get rid of everything over here. And so the thought of it not working over there and having to come back for any reason, I don't think they really think about that. And you might just have to come back. You might have to come back, and you need something.
Right, right. I mean, I think I agree with you in respect that when I hear people talk about this transition to the continent, I mean, it's so absolute in their mind that, I'm coming and I'm never coming back to the States, and I'm never, and it's just very ridiculous because in reality, if you're born and raised in the Western world, your networks are there, your family is there, your education is there. So there are a lot of tethers, a popular word being used right now, but there are a lot of tethers that will connect you back to the Western world. And there's nothing wrong with, maybe utilizing those things. I mean, for me, I think that having my base in Ghana and then, periodically going to visit or going to Europe, I'm currently in the UK. I think it's a luxury. I think that it's one of the benefits we have that kind of sets us apart from our counterparts. And girl, I don't know what it is. Since I've got this live stream, I'm getting like 6 calls, text messages. Like, what is going on? No, but hey, I'm like, come on, man. So anyway, I would encourage people that are interested in the continent not to have this absolute perspective, because you really don't know. Both Sister Yaa and I, we've both experienced death in our family. She's had a grandson that's born in the U.S. We've had significant events that have brought us back to America, and I go between the U.S. and in Europe, where I formerly lived here in the U.K. before moving to Ghana. So, actually what she said makes a lot of sense for diasporans. If you're able to manage, keep some of your resources going on in America, set up that contingency, because much like the lady that I'm referring to specifically in a particular video, you may need to bounce back for various reasons. You may need to come back. And if you've actually severed all your ties, you shut down your bank accounts, you don't have a valid license anymore, your passport, you let it get in arrears, then that's going to cause problems when you may need to tap into those resources. Big shout outs. I see you guys in the chat room. Yes, Beacon just like.
When I was in Ghana, I was still renewing my driver's license and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I still kept my bank account. I still had funds going into my bank account. I still was very, very much had a presence still here. So, and just like, my law license, I did, in fact, one of the mistakes that I did make, because I am an attorney, and then we have to take certain things to keep our license active every year, taking CLE classes, that's called continuing legal education classes, and we have certain annual dues and fees that we're supposed to pay every year. One of the mistakes that I made, because I'm licensed in two different jurisdictions, which is Tennessee and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I'm going to be very transparent here. I was like, well, I'm not there. I'm not working, so I'm just not going to do that stuff. I'm not going to take those classes. I'm not going to pay for all that. I'm not going to, be paying this money every year for this license. And so my license ended up going under suspension. Not disbarred. Let me be
Mm.
very, very clear.
Oh, I thought
Never
you was
been
disbarred,
disbarred.
girl. That's what the YouTube street said. The YouTube street said you got disbarred for what was it, fraud or criminal activity?
Girl,
What did you do?
no, there was never any. Yeah, no, nobody ever said why. They were just like, she's disbarred because they don't understand things. It's just like with a nursing license or a doctor's license. Every year you have to pay. You have to do things to keep it
Yeah,
active.
yeah, to
And
keep it
when you
active.
don't keep it active, they will just suspend it until you bring it back active, and that was it. So when I came back with my son, said he wanted to come back and go to high school, I said, okay, well, I got to go back and be back there because, I mean, he's just ninth grade. Well, now he's going to 10th grade, but I know I'm going to be there for 3 more years. I'm going to go back into practice of law. So I had to go and do something, come up with a lot of money.
Get everything sorted
a
out.
lot of money because I hadn't done it for years. I had to pay all that back money and catch up on all my CLE classes. And then once I did all those things, then they just made me active again. That's it. So
we're happy for the YouTube streets. Go run, tell that she's no longer disbarred. Hello, she's been reinstated and back to practicing. Hello,
I've never been disbarred.
Go tell everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, people love to spread misinformation and nonsense. But anyway, so I'm licensed. My license is now again active in Tennessee, in the Virgin Islands, and I have a law office set up in the U.S. Virgin Islands, which is where I am physically. That's my base now. The U.S. Virgin Islands, and like I said, I'm back to work because I'm going to be on this side for a while. And I'll just be going, like I'm going to Ghana in December because I have to go check on my house. I have a house there. I have my dogs there. I have a house sitter that's taking care of my properties and, stuff like that. I have land. I have things in Ghana. So I'm still very much a part of Ghana. It's just that I have to do what my son needed me to do for his social and mental well-being, which is to come back until he at least finishes high school and go off to college. But in the meantime, I can work and make money so that I can do some things in Ghana. You know what I'm saying? While I'm here. But one of the
and I mean, again, like I said, go ahead. Finish your point.
I only said that to say, when I got back, I had to get my license in order so that I could go back to work. But I had a place to live. Both my parents own their homes. My children own properties and homes. My husband is still here. We still have that apartment. So it was easy for me to just come back and just get back into the flow. You saw me 1 minute, I was like, okay, I'm back, and then the next minute you saw me, I had a law office open in the Virgin Islands, and I got clients. I'm working, and I'm going to court. You know what I'm saying? It was just but I never severed anything with America. You know what I'm saying? And I can't really sever anything with America and I don't want to be honest with you. I have no desire to sever anything with America. This is my home. This is where I'm from. This is where my ancestors shed their blood, sweat, and tears. My parents are here. My children are here. My grandchildren are here. My aunts and cousins and uncles. This is my home. Ghana is a second home, but this is my home. So I have no desire to sever anything from America, to sever myself from America.
Absolutely. Now, big shout out to the African Superstar family. We have 9 of you watching. I don't see in the chat room. Don't think just because we got a guest that the protocols are not in effect. So please get into the chat room. Make sure you like the stream. If you enjoy this conversation, show us some tangible support. Let us know in the comments below, because I think it's very important for those of us that have had longevity, demonstrated that, Sister Yaa has been living and frequenting Ghana even way before me. And this is the kind of information you need. Not negating people that are coming for 2 days or 2 years or 5 months, but people that have longevity, their input is very valuable on this topic because it can help you strategize your own movements to the continent and not make mistakes that some of these people that are not having longevity and not being successful. It's safe to say that when people moved to Ghana, they had intentions of residing there. They had long-term intentions of residing there, but they did not have success. So that's what we're talking about today. Special shout outs to Sister Yaa, who's joining us. So I want to get into the list of things that the young lady discussed on her video. There's a young lady named Lala. She posted a video a couple weeks ago talking about the reasons why she's leaving Ghana and heading to Jamaica. And the first thing that she, let's see, let's get Sister Yaa in here. Let's see here. You back? We're having some network. Sister Yaa, you in? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
issues. Yeah.
That's okay. That's all right. The first thing that the young lady mentioned was mental health. She said that being in Ghana, her mental health deteriorated. You know, she was frustrated by some of the nuances and the pace of life and infrastructure issues. And to that, I want to say, I really encourage people to know or learn about their environment when they come to Ghana. A lot of Western people have an arrogance about themselves in which they feel that the country should accommodate them. And they feel that, you know, people should kind of acquiesce to their ways. In reality, we're moving to their environment. You know, it's not for us to cherry pick and those kind of things. There are parts of Ghana or Senegal, Nigeria, wherever you're just going to have to adjust to as the foreigner coming in, you know, because in that case, she was becoming frustrated all by herself. The rest of the world was carrying on, and a lot of these things were normal. And maybe if she had come to Ghana before, she would have understood some of these things, such as, you know, it's frustrating, but the slower pace of life. As Westerners, we come, we're very on a schedule. You know, if we have an appointment that starts at noon, we're there. We expect people to be there early or come on time. These are cultural things that coming to Ghana or across the continent, from my experience, you know, people are on a slower pace. They're not always functioning like that because of some of the infrastructure issues as well, like transportation and lights and roads. And that also can be a factor as to why people are more flexible with time, because things can take long. You know, Sister Yaa and I can attest, the traffic sometimes in Accra is crazy. You can spend hours in traffic for a distance that shouldn't take you more than 15-20 minutes. You can literally spend time. So in as much it's irritating and can be considered an inconvenience, I kind of also like the fact that if you do, you know, if you are not on time, that may not necessarily cost you the event or the date. People will be a lot more flexible.
What's the name of your Wi-Fi?
You know, so I think in that situation, unfortunately, the young lady was frustrating herself because she wasn't, you know, she was not accustomed to how things are in Ghana. And I know, again, it can be an adjustment. It can be irritating. But once you realize, hey, this is how it is, that's one less frustration because you don't take it personal. You don't internalize it. You're not rushing for no reason because you know. Or if somebody's not there when you get there, you're like, oh, well, you know, Ghana time. And, you know, it's okay. It's okay. I don't particularly get annoyed by that, but I know some people do. Actually, when I come back to the Western world and everything is so rigid and I have to reprogram myself to get into that vibe and stuff like that. Sister Yaa, you want to comment on the mental health piece? Sister Yaa's having some technical difficulties right now. I'll move on to the second piece while we get her back in here. The next concern was infrastructure. Okay, so the young lady talked about, obviously, power outages sometimes, water outages, and things like that. She also talked about the diaspora coming to Ghana and investing in Ghana by way of tourism. Now, I want to say that obviously I took my first trip to Ghana in 2016. Um, like Sister Yaa said, she took her first trip to Ghana in 2010. And as people that have been going to Ghana for years, we can definitely tell you there have been improvements in Ghana. There has been development. There has been roads. When I first came to Ghana in 2016, there was no Uber. The Google Maps was crazy. I'm sure Sister Yaa can tell you when she first came to Accra what that was like for her. We've seen substantial growth and change in the country. That's for people that have been coming, for a substantial amount of time. Expecting Ghana to transform overnight is very unrealistic, even after a big tourism year. It's just unrealistic. What you see in the Western world is the product of years of infrastructure development. Okay. And I know a lot of our people are coming to Africa. They've never world traveled. They've never been to developing nations. They don't really understand what that means. Ghana is a very relatively young country. Got its independence in 1957, compared to the centuries of America, the centuries of Europe. So we have to also consider that. And in as much we want to see the change and growth, we have to be realistic about these things. In addition to some of the systemic issues, the corruption and things that are existing in the African environment, so expecting it to transform, I think it's an unrealistic, expectation. A lot of us that are content creators have told you guys over and over about these various challenges in Africa, and ask yourself if you can deal with periodic, power outages or water outages. There are also ways to solve those things. For instance, Sister Yaa and her property, she has installed a borehole. Okay. She has her own source of water. I've been there. I've seen it. Okay. People have installed solar power to their properties to make sure that they have constant power. And how I combat it is I live in a city. I pay a little bit more for rent, but I live in a place that has, frequent power and water. The further you go out from the city, the more you're going to encounter a lot of those infrastructural deficits and needs. From what I understand, she was living in the Kasoa area. That is quite a local area. And that is a place that is prone to a lot of the things that she was discussing. And as she went through her video, she talked that she moved, 3 times in 1 year. She moved. And as she moved to the city, she even said, this place was better. The place was in better condition. I still had a little few problems, but it was better. I had to pay a little bit more money. So I would say, calculate your situation. How do you want to live? What's the lifestyle you want to live? If you're living with $2, you got to come with what comes with $2. Just like in America, if you live in certain areas, low income areas, it comes with crime. It comes with drug activity. It comes with poor schools. It might come with crumbling infrastructure. Coming to Africa is it's not a foreign planet. It's another part of the world. A lot of these situations exist as well in different capacities. So, Sister Yaa, while you were out, I touched on her mental health, situation, and also the complaining about the infrastructure.
Yeah, sorry, it was the network. I had to switch over to another. I was trying to use my hotspot on my phone, but it was just jacking me up. So I had to switch over to my daughter's Wi-Fi in the house, and it's much better.
The Wi-Fi. Okay, yeah. Are you good now?
I'm good now.
Okay.
So, couple things you touched on. The infrastructure. I've lived all over Accra, and you're gonna deal with lights out and water issues, even if you're in the city. It's cost of living is going to be much more expensive in terms of renting a place, and food is going to cost more.
Land. Yeah.
Land. Everything is just more expensive. And with Ghana in particular, you're going to have to be ready to pay. I don't think people really understand how expensive Ghana is, especially Accra. I think people I just don't understand. If you plan to live in Accra because you want the amenities of being in the city, then it's going to be almost like living in the States, really. Honestly, it's not going to be different. You know what I'm saying? And
simple. It's like you living in New York City, the outskirts. You know what I mean? The Accra is like the New York City of Ghana. You know what I mean? So you're paying for, the better roads, you're paying for Wi-Fi, you're paying for, amenities, like she said, shopping malls, stores, all those things that are there, close proximity to
Yeah,
airport,
restaurants.
government, immigration. Yeah, you're
Mhm.
paying for that.
Yeah. So if you're gonna be in Accra and you know you don't like rural living, now you can live for a lot less cheaper in a rural area. And like you said, you're gonna experience a lot more infrastructure problems in a rural area. We have a borehole at my house because the city, I mean, the government hasn't put the pipes for water out there. So you're definitely you got to have a borehole, you got to have a well, and we have electricity out there. And guess what? I had to, when I built my house and I wanted to move in, I had to go buy my own electrical poles and my own cables and wires. And the pole that was closest to my property, we started from there, and my electrician and his team came and put the poles all the way to my house and ran the wires, and then I had to go get my own meter, and then ECG comes out there. Once you put those things in, it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to ECG, to the Electric Company of
It
Ghana.
belongs to Ghana.
Yeah. But if you want it done probably cheaper and faster, then you're going to pay for it.
Babe, the network is really, really bad. Can
Well, I don't think it's my side this time.
Okay, let me see. Hold on, let me. Okay. I don't know if you guys could hear that. It was going in and out and quite a bit. But Sister Yaa was saying that where her area is, it's a bit rural at the moment. And when she was developing her land, she had to bring her own. She had to purchase her own electrical poles and do all of that. And she had to get a borehole because the pipes needed to be put in for the water. And after she put those things in, they then became the property of Ghana. ECGR power, Ghana water, pipes, and things like that.
The
So
borehole,
go ahead, Sister
the
Yaa.
borehole is that's my well. That's a well on my land. That's my private property. But once I put the well in, then I had to put in a reverse osmosis system to purify the water so that I can have
So
purified
much.
water coming into the house. Is it still messing up, Gina?
Sister Yaa, hello?
I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay. And maybe it was my side. Lord have mercy. Okay.
That's the other thing you got to get used to. The Wi-Fi is going
The
to be
Wi-Fi. Yeah, the
Wi-Fi is going to
network.
be shaky. Yeah, and Wi-Fi is
Yeah.
expensive. I think Wi-Fi in Ghana is more expensive than here. Here we can pay a flat
20
amount,
bucks or whatever. Yeah,
50,
for the
whatever,
month.
and that's it. And you get, your unlimited access for the whole month. But in Ghana, you got to buy it in pieces. You pay and get some data, and then when that data runs out, you got to go top up and get some more. And then when that runs out, so you can easily surpass $50 a month just for using your data, especially if you're somebody like Gina, who's on, or if a lot of people work online. Like we have a lot of people
Yeah.
in Ghana, which is smart, because you're gonna need. Let me just say this. I know I've jumped off topic, but I want to say this. Unless you are independently wealthy, or unless you're retired, or you got like a social security check or a retirement check or a steady income disability check, something coming in to fund your living, you have got to come up with something that gives you money coming.
Back. We go. Should we jump to that? That's on the list. Income is on the next. We can talk about that next.
Yeah. Don't, even if you got $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, because I'm
If you
telling
don't
you,
have income, it's not going to last.
disappear. It's going to disappear much quicker than you think. You think, oh, I got $50,000, I can go to Ghana and I'm going to live forever off 50,000. No, you're not. No, you're not. That money is going to run out, and then you're going to be like, shit, you got to come up with something. And unfortunately, that's why you have a lot of our diasporans end up doing unscrupulous things too
Come on, talk
over
about it.
there Yeah,
Babe,
because
you
they
hitting
don't.
all the topics. Stay on one topic at a time. You hitting all the topics. Come on. We on income right now.
Okay, but yeah, because setting up a business in Ghana, I'm telling you, it's not as easy as you think. Okay, it's red tape. Going through the registrar general's office, it's red tape, and then there are certain things that certain jobs that are reserved just for Ghanaians that you're not
Right.
supposed to do, like a lot of little petty jobs. You gotta know what you think you're gonna go over there and set up a barbershop. You're not supposed to have a barbershop. You understand, unless you partner with a Ghanaian, and then you can have it. So there's certain things, and I don't think a lot of times our people really try to figure out what the rules and laws. They don't do enough research to find out things, and then they
Girl,
just
you know they don't do no research. They
they
pack the bag, buy
go.
the one-way ticket. Sometimes they don't even got visas.
I was, yeah, I've seen that happen. I've seen people buy their ticket not even knowing they need a visa, and then it's time to fly, and they're at the airport, and you can't even get on the plane to Ghana without a visa. So unless you come when they do visa free, and
You remember that one that called? I think she called you. The one that was from Senegal with the kids, like the 5 kids, and came to Ghana with no visas.
oh yeah, a lot of people have had called me with that issue, and then I have to, and then I have somebody, I have a contact, I can get you in, but even that, I need at least 2-3 weeks before your flight, and then they have to make the arrangements at the airport for you to get visa on arrival. But guess what? It's
Right.
gonna cost you way more to get visa
Then
on
getting the visa
arrival
in advance.
than just going and getting the visa. But some people don't really know that they need a visa. So, and I want to go back when you were talking about mental health. You
Okay.
can you can start feeling isolated, because I'm not, and I don't want any Ghanaian to think that I'm being condescending or trying to put them down or anything like that. But it's different. It's different. It's different. It's different than anything. It's different than what you're used to. I'm not saying what we're used to is better or anything like that, but the mentality, the way they think about things, the things that are important to them,
Mm-hmm.
the conversation, just
Yeah,
everything
cultural differences.
is different. Yeah, you might start missing collard greens and sweet potato pie and cornbread and stuff, because I've had, and I try to go figure out, because like I'm going to my mom's house today, and I'm probably going to get a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right, right, right.
what we eat over here, and you remember when my mom came to Ghana and
She brought you all that stuff. Yeah.
made banana pudding and
The
all of that,
cornbread.
and the cornbread, and the diasporans that were at my house at that party went through that food, like, because they hadn't had it in a long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Sister Yaa's mom came and she threw down. We was in Ghana. We had a party at her house. It was nice.
But I had to really go around and look to get the
The
ingredients.
ingredients,
Or
yeah.
things that could be substituted. So when she did make it,
She could cook it,
yeah,
taste. Yeah.
because I knew my mom was coming, I had my husband to bring vanilla wafers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there are no vanilla wafers over here. So I was like, oh, when she comes, I want that banana pudding, because my mom's coming down on that banana pudding. So I had to, all the things that she needed to make that banana pudding, I had to have it shipped over here. You know what I'm saying? But so the comfort foods, it's something as simple as the comfort foods, the things that you like to eat, you're gonna eat at some point miss those things. There are a lot of restaurants that try to imitate a lot of the stuff that we like to eat, but it don't be the same. It just don't. It don't be the same.
It don't be the same.
No.
So in other words, guys, this still goes back to the planning and understanding and knowing what you're getting into. I think that definitely for Sister Yaa and I, our transition has been a lot smoother than a lot of diasporans because of our frequent travels and time spent. That's what I believe allowed us to have the longevity in Ghana.
Can I come in? I want to say something. For me, also, it was also, I'm married to a Ghanaian. So I had a whole network.
A network of people there, definitely.
Yeah.
to help to and her in-laws are very nice. I've met a lot of them. They're really nice people, and helpful people. So, these are things to consider when we're addressing the mental health. Now, Sister Yaa talked about the income, and this is a huge piece of the puzzle. And this is the thing that a lot of the people that are failing on the continent are not being honest about, is because they probably did come with a lump sum. I know after COVID, a lot of people came and a lot of people left after their stimulus money ran out, after their PPP money ran out, after their, the EIDL grant ran out. They didn't conceive, okay, what am I going to do for money? Also, with a lot of people with the social media, they think they're going to go to Ghana and become viral social media people and get paid from content creation. And I can tell you, as someone who's been here on YouTube for since 2013, it takes time to build your social media. It takes time to cultivate your audience, and it takes time for your channel to maybe benefit you, and earn you money. Before I moved to Ghana, for instance, my previous channel that YouTube shut down, that I made sure that channel generated a certain amount of money for 6 solid months before I moved to Ghana, with that as a source of income. Because YouTube can fluctuate and things like that. And
YouTube can just shut you off.
Of course, like I was getting to that. They shut down my channel in 2021 overnight. I went from making anywhere between $600 to $1,000 a month on my channel to zero, nothing. And so if I hadn't had savings or other means like my website or my speaking or other things like that, I would have really been stranded in Ghana. But we see that was 2021, and it's 2025. So we see that Gina weathered the storm, yes. But it still means that you need to, and the other thing I want to point out is, a lot of us coming from America, the Western world, if you're not an entrepreneur in America, you're someone who has been, an employee for most of your life. Picking up and starting a business it's not necessarily easy, especially in a different environment that you don't know all the little pieces to it. So it's not,
just get it out of your mind that you're gonna come to Ghana and get a job. Get that out.
Oh yeah. Like, don't even do that, because the money,
consider that as an option, because it's not gonna happen.
The money that if you did manage to get a position, the money that you would get would be on a local scale, and it would be money that you couldn't even work with. You know what I mean? So I don't think coming to
the average Ghanaian salary, Gina can tell you.
Man,
I can spend that
one go at the grocery shop,
at the grocery store. You understand?
For real. My own budget. I know my own budget is probably almost 3 times the average Ghanaian's, monthly salary. That's what I spend. I take Ubers everywhere I go. I live in an upscale area of town. I go out a lot. I eat a lot outside. So it adds up. It's not what the locals do. So my thing is, what I actually did to help sustain me was start strategizing before I came to Ghana what I was going to do for money. Now, obviously, I had setbacks. I intended to grow my YouTube more, and that way I would have more income coming from that to fund other projects. But I knew that I couldn't just have one source of income, so that's something you need to do. And another thing, because I know there have been several failed diasporan businesses because they don't take into consideration their demographics. You can't just simply pick up a business that you're running in America and bring it to Ghana and think that it's just going to flourish. Some things are not in Ghana because the local people are not interested in it, or certain foods they're not going to patronize. If you come to Ghana, there's no McDonald's. There's McDonald's.
I'm sorry. The
overwhelming
majority of people in Ghana, unfortunately, are just trying to survive. The overwhelming majority. So who is going to, that thing that you're trying to sell, or that service that you're trying to provide, who's going to patronize?
Absolutely.
You understand?
Absolutely.
You have to think about, unless you're going to get into something like farming or something that the local people
can patronize, right?
patronize, something, you know what I'm saying? Because even right now, we have some extra land. I'm looking at doing a fish farming and doing catfish and tilapia. They eat that all the time.
Of course.
That shouldn't be hard for me
to get into that.
You understand what I'm saying? So you have to know. And if you've never been there, you're not going to know what the local people
exactly
like
exactly
or anything like that. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So do not underestimate sorting out your income, how that's going to work. And if you are someone, I say it here all the time, and obviously you guys know I offer private tours to Ghana to help you take your first trip, get your first glimpse. Sister Yaa is going to be coming in December, and we are offering that. You heard it here first. We're offering a collaborative effort. So if you're interested in coming to Ghana in December, you can catch up with me and her. You need to reach out to her about that. Hello.
Not really.
So, yeah, basically, if you're interested in coming to Ghana in December, how long is the tour? What we say, 8 days? 8 days, Sister Yaa?
It was 7 or 8 days, yeah.
7 or 8 days? Okay, yeah. So if you want to come, if you're planning to come, you want to catch up with us, let us know. We can get you more details about that. But do not underestimate the income. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about, and I know Sister Yaa has a lot of information on this topic because she's lived in apartments in Ghana and then she's built her own property, her own home. So the next topic is apartment and housing. Like I said, the young lady was talking about having issues with her landlord, having issues with the housing. I know this is a challenge for a lot of people. I didn't encounter that because, again, I kind of started looking for a place before I moved to Ghana. I had a few properties in mind and I went with a Ghanaian person that kind of pretended to be the person renting the place. And, they let me know, hey, this is the best place for you to settle in. And I've been in that apartment, as Sister Yaa can attest, I've been in that apartment since I moved to Ghana in 2020. But I know Sister Yaa has rented a few places and had some things with that. So apartment and housing can be tricky. I would discourage people from booking things online. Buying property, buying lands. We always encourage you, to have do some research before you do those things. You may locate properties online because there's a few websites that you can use like Mikasa and Gigi. They'll show you some listings. But my recommendation is going to that property, maybe speaking to people if there's other people that live there or people around there, asking them questions. How's the doom sore in this area, which is the local word for
flooding.
The water. Does the tap flow? Yeah. Have there been any issues? Because see, in Ghana, people know their neighbors and they know what goes on in the area. And so if you talk to your neighbors and say, hey, what's going on over here? They'll let you know, oh, somebody got their phone snatched last week. There was a situation. There's these, blah, blah, blah. The Okadas come through here, and you need to do that because you need to check that before you commit. We rent annually in Ghana or sometimes biannually, which means you got to pay your rent up front for the whole year. And so you don't want to get stuck in a place that you can't at least
your money back. And in fact,
you can forget about getting the money back.
that money is gone. You're not
right.
Getting it back. And let me just say this: I'm not going to say it's 100%, but I can say probably 95% chance that you're gonna have an issue with your landlord. You just are. Because like Gina told you, I've rented. It's just the mentality, really. And then there's not a lot of recourse for you. Just about everybody I know in Ghana that is rented has had issue with the landlord. Just about everybody. And it's just, they have a landlord tenant association that's supposed to deal with that stuff, but they don't have any power to enforce when these landlords cut up or act up or don't do what they're supposed to do. Honestly, the truth of the matter is you're on your own. So you have to be I would even suggest plan to rent an Airbnb for about a month or two so that you can get to know time around, look around, and you still probably gonna get got. Probably.
Housing can be tricky.
Yeah,
Housing can be tricky.
unless you
How
get,
and you know the land.
they could get in with organizations like the African American Association in Ghana and try to get some referrals. It may be better if you do that from other diasporans who've had experience, who can say, okay, well, I know this place and it's okay and it's decent.
Yeah.
It's not in a flooded area. Your worst nightmare is gonna get somewhere because a lot of Accra floods. Let me tell you that right
Yep.
now.
And I can tell you that area where this young lady, Kaswa, I know for a fact has a lot of issues with that because it's low lying. You know what I mean? So
Because it's close to the sea, but it's not
right,
just Kasawa. All over Accra, it's different areas, especially because Accra is close to the sea. Accra is on
right,
the coast,
yeah,
and it has a lot of flooding areas. Some areas are better than others, and you won't know. And then even when you were talking about buying land, you have to know, does this area flood? Because they sell you land in a place they know they're not supposed to because of the
right,
floods or the government has said no building over here. Nobody should build over here. But they will still sell you that land. I mean, it happens to Ghanaians. It doesn't just happen. Everything that I'm saying is not
doesn't
like
just happen to the
not like
diaspora.
you're being targeted for anything because you're a diaspora. The same thing happens to Ghanaians if they don't be careful, if they don't know, because a lot of people who are Ghanaian by family, their mom or so maybe they grew up in UK or somewhere, but they're still Ghanaian or whatever.
Right.
A lot of them they go through the same exact things that we're talking about. So it's not like it's specific to just coming from America or Jamaica or something like that. No, everybody can get it in Ghana. Anybody can get it.
That's why guys, you have to be vigilant, okay? Because there's a lot of opportunities in addition to them having the perception that we're coming from America, we have a lot of money and these kind of things. You have to err on the side of caution with any monetary romantic prospects, because it's just the reality. You know what I mean? It's just the reality of how it is. I mean, even if new people come to your environment where you live in America, they say, "Oh, that person's from Mississippi." You're in New York, and they're like, "Oh, this country guy." They're gonna try to get over on you the same. That's kind of how it is when we come. They know we have not been versed. We don't speak the language. We're new, and in a lot of cases, people are very. They have romanticized this concept, so their common sense. I mean, the things that they do, it's just like you wouldn't even do that in America. You've gotten over here because you want to believe like, okay, I'm back in the motherland. They're so happy to have me. And that's true, but you still need to operate with some level of common sense. So
you have to know that the price of everything pretty much, if like Gina knows, I did most of my shopping because of my son and what he likes to eat. I went to the grocery store. The average person probably cannot just go to the grocery store all the time in Ghana. A lot of people go
right, local. They go to markets and they bargain at the market
because it's just cheaper, and and they prepare more local food because it's cheaper. I prepare local food. Gina know I can throw down.
Yeah, she's a great cook. I love I miss going to the parties at the house.
Yeah. However, if you have children, or if some grown people have a certain way they like to eat, and if you think you're gonna just be shopping at Maxmart or whatever, or or ShopRite.
Yeah, ShopRite or any of the like main stores. Yeah,
you're gonna pay because everything is imported.
Yep. For those shops, definitely. So all right, the next topic on the list is what the girl talked about. She talked about the difference of being on the ground versus vacation, because obviously Ghana has now just gotten this reputation of being a party place. We have Daddy December, a lot of music festivals come, celebrities have come, and it's become very popular. And if you come at those times, that is not the reality of living in Ghana. You know what I mean? That is vacation, that's tourist time, that's high season. The day-to-day of living in Ghana is different. And again, this is why I promote you. Come, I just had a tour a week, 2 weeks ago. Okay. And they specifically wanted to come in July because they didn't want to come when all the tourists were there. They wanted to get a more authentic experience. And literally coming at various times of the year, you will see a different version of Ghana. Actually, those of us that live in Ghana, December is a bit of a hassle. Okay, there's a lot of traffic.
I don't go into a
Everything is
spot.
expensive. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? When I literally, since I've been living in Ghana, I don't even party. You know, I'm a musician, so sometimes I have shows. When I first came to Ghana, I partied in December like, oh my God. When I started living there, I was like, ooh, the price is double. The traffic is crazy. It's hard to book a taxi cab. I was just like, nah, I'll let the foreigners have it. You know what I'm saying? Let the visitors have it. And so the reality of living on the ground, and and the lady talked about this. She was like, I had a good time when I came for December, but it's not really like that.
Because
Duh.
the euphoria that you feel comes down, and the reality sets in. And I don't think a lot of people like the reality. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. And
It's not.
how many? It doesn't matter how many people on YouTube y'all see saying this. It doesn't mean it's going to be for you. It doesn't mean that it's going to be for you. And
Exactly.
you have to just move wisely. You have to move wisely. Don't rush. Don't think, be sitting on YouTube following somebody, living vicariously through them. Because at the end of the day, even those people don't show you everything that's going on with them. They don't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you sitting there forming an opinion based on what they've
Their
allowed
experiences.
you to see. And then you get there and you are highly disappointed, and then you change your whole life or abandon things that you probably shouldn't abandon. You know what I'm saying? Based on living vicariously through somebody else's life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I would say, I think obviously we've been through seasons in Ghana, different things happening in our lives and all of that, but at the end of the day, we like Ghana. We enjoy being there. And that's what helped us weather those various things,
You
if
miss
you
it.
don't have a personal interest in living in Ghana, you're going to just be annoyed by the nuances and the differences and the inconveniences and the cultural differences. It's going to compound and it's going to drive you out of the country because you don't want to be there. If you want to be there, then you may be able to absorb some things and come to the consensus. You know what? It's really not a deal breaker for me. For instance, Doomsor has not been a deal breaker for me. I've learned how to deal with that. I've learned how to get myself prepared if it happens. I've learned how to start storing additional water in my apartment. If the tap goes off, I have water available. I've learned how to cope with the rough roads. I've learned how to cope with the cultural differences, the language barrier. For me, none of those things are deal breakers. I feel that the things that I benefit are more, and I'm happy, to deal with that. But for you, if you don't like the place, everything can be problematic. And I mean, I think Sister Yaa will agree with me that we see a lot of that here on social media. It's like, okay, you're complaining about natural elements of Ghana.
Yeah.
It's too hot here. I don't like the harmattan. You know what I mean? They do a no noise ordinance in downtown. And it's like these things have been going on literally for decades in Ghana. Like if you knew anything about it, you would know about it. And it's either you deal with it or you go somewhere else. Simple.
Now, for me, I can say one of the things that would have been a deal breaker for me would have been the doom sword, the lights out, because I hate that with a passion. I hate it. I left the first time because of it, because I was like, this is bullshit,
But I literally heard like when you left, I heard it was like excessive, like it was unreal.
So to make sure I'm comfortable, that's why I have solar on my house. But you got to be, you got to be prepared for that. You either gotta rent the place that has solar already, or be ready to buy solar. It has to be already kind of wired, set up for solar. You know what I mean? Like when we built our house, we built it
So you
knowing
can
that we
put it
were
in.
in have solar.
Yeah.
So we wired the house ready for the solar, from the ground
Right.
up. So because I can't stand when the lights go out. That is the most irritating thing. And you know what I mean? Because look, I like my fans to be going.
Yeah,
You
she
know, I
like the
like listening to my
AC and the fan.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my summer hut. You know, I be outside chilling with the ceiling fan going and my music playing, and then all of a sudden, like yeah, I would just be like, "What?" You know what I mean? Or if I'm
My thing is,
entertaining guests and
for
I have
me, just to be honest, I mean, I haven't had excessive doom story. Usually in my area of town, I know what time. Like if it goes off at 6 p.m., it'll be back on within 4 hours. Usually, my side of town. So I can calculate, and I'm like, okay. There have been a few times it's overstepped. There have been. We had a big windstorm a few months ago. It knocked out power lines, so it was like a couple days, until they were able to restore it. But those are anomalies. Usually, so for me, it's like manageable. It's okay. If it happens during the day, no big deal because there's sunlight. At nighttime is
yeah,
very irritating if it happens in the night. But again, it's one of those things. I know it's an element of Ghana. I think it's gotten better for me per se, like it, because I mean I can't even tell you before I traveled back, I don't think I had doom story in the last month or so at all. So but I mean if it were excessive, definitely I can understand, your food's going
yeah,
bad,
but
you're
that's
not.
just where you live. There's some part there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There are some areas that have it like it's too much. It's too much.
well thank God for the African superstar picking a nice area to
And
live in.
that's what
Hallelujah.
I don't have to deal with it at all. Uh, Gina,
Okay, babe.
is your network going in and out? Is that you?
No, well, maybe I got you now. I can hear you now. What's up? Shout outs to the family. Blackavelli, I see you, brother, in the chat room. Big shout outs to Miss Hazel. Giving shout outs to the panel and our special guest. Miss Sister Yaa is here with us. And we're talking about, a lot of diasporans are prematurely coming to the continent. They're coming ill prepared, and it's resulting in them not having success. So we wanted to share our thoughts on some of the things that a young lady was struggling with and ultimately had to leave Ghana. So far, we've talked about mental health, infrastructure, apartment and housing, the difference between on the ground and vacation income. And now we're going to talk about transportation. Um, if you haven't been to Ghana and, and obviously you're coming from the West, you may be accustomed to a very clearly defined, public transportation system, maybe trains, those kind of things. The transportation system is not very well developed in Ghana, I'd say, because there's no distinct buses. You have to learn how to use the trotro, and that has a very local element. You know what I mean? Because there's no signs on the front of it to tell you where it's going, where the stops are. There are no bus signs or, things like this. So, that can be very tricky and a huge adjustment if you're coming from somewhere like Atlanta or New York or London, where the public transportation system is very easy to navigate. You will deal with, taxi drivers that are off the hook, Uber drivers, and transportation. I mean, and even if you want to driving is wild in Ghana. Wild. Rough roads, all kind of crossings, animals sometimes in the road, motorbikes, which are called okadas in Ghana. They drive insane. They weave in and out of traffic, drive in between cars. Transportation, you need to think about that too. Okay, when you're coming to Ghana, how are you going to do transportation? Again, this is something, if you take a visit to Ghana, you'll see that.
Transportation.
Go ahead, babe.
I'm sorry, sis. I was going to say transportation. Transportation is going to take up a lot of your costs, your expenses, your monthly expenses. A lot of it's going to be spent on transportation.
Absolutely. And like for me, for instance, I take Uber and Bolt everywhere. You know what I mean? I don't have a private car in Ghana. When I do my tours, I rent one for my guests. But I had to factor that in. Okay, and that also went into the decision of where I chose to live, because a lot of places in my neighborhood I can walk. I can walk to shops. I can walk to my gym. I can, I have amenities in my area. Now, other areas you may not have those things, which means every time you need to go to the shop, every time you want to go to a restaurant or a gym or something, it may not be your environment. So that means you're going to be picking, either you're going to learn how to do the trotro. Hello. You're going to, have to get your license and go through that process or whatnot to get your license in Ghana to drive a car. Getting a car, or importing a car. So it can be involved.
A used car in Ghana is going to be way more expensive than a used car in the States. Just know that. Know that. Because of the importation. Okay, because
and duty at the port.
Y'all, I've sold a lot of cars in Ghana because my husband and I were buying cars in the U.S.
and shipping them
over there, and then reselling them. And we have to recoup the cost of what we paid for the car, shipping the car, clearing the car from the port. So all that has to go on top of the car. Then we need a profit. You understand? Right. So otherwise, why do it? So you're going to pay way more for a used car in Ghana than you would pay for that same car in the U.S.
Absolutely. So this is something you do not want to overlook. And also where you're living. I've seen the case of so many diasporans because of their financial situation. They're not able to find housing in Accra proper, which puts them a bit further from the city, which means anytime, they need to conduct business, everything is very centralized in Ghana. Immigration is in the city center, the airport's in the city center, a lot of the nightlife and those type of things. It's all in the city center. So even if you live outside, you're constantly having to come to Accra to do things or meet people or, go shopping or go to immigration. So you need to also consider that, especially if you guys, the young lady in this video, she was working. So she had to consider daily transportation to get to work, get home, and maybe childcare for her child. So these are things, again, I don't think a lot of people are considering when they get to Ghana. They have not asked themselves, okay, what am I going to do about transportation? How am I going to get around? That type of thing. And I'm going to save the biggest topic for last. So let's talk about, she talked about a support system. Now, I personally have to say, this is a very romanticized element, in my opinion, from the diaspora, because in as much we have connections and lineage that brings us to the continent, we are strangers effectively, coming there. We don't know about the place, and expecting, continentals to just embrace us and provide us this community. It's unrealistic. You have to create relationships with people on the continent and build friendships and build that rapport. Yes, we're going to be welcome. Yes, people might be excited to see you or happy to see you. But this young lady came to Ghana by herself with a child. She was talking about the village. She was talking about a support system, feeling alienated. You're coming to a new country of which you don't have any familial ties, any direct familial ties. You don't have in-laws there. You don't have friends there, and I assume she didn't have that much association with Ghanaians because, again, she moved from Tanzania, so she originally set off to go there, I guess. It didn't work out there. So then she moved to Ghana, because I don't know too many of you guys that decide to move several countries every couple years, if you're not in the military or something like that. So she kind of pivoted to Ghana, probably for many of the reasons a lot of you are interested in Ghana, which is the hype and all of that. But she was a foreigner, completely ignorant to the country. So expecting to just come to a place that you don't have any connections and thinking that a village is ready for you to just come in there is very, very naive. Sister Yaa and I, we have established relationships. Like Sister Yaa said, she's been traveling there for, over 15 years. She has in-laws there. and has spent substantial time living in the country. That's how she has connection. That's how she knows people. And she's also tapped into many diasporians like me and other people on social media that are living there and made friends with us as well. So, that is something that's been cultivated over time. None of us just picked our bags and went to Ghana and had this amazing network of people. Sister Yaa, you want to touch on the support system?
So somebody might find this offensive, although I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm trying to be very frank and honest. Okay, just to save you unnecessary heartache. And Ghanaians are friendly. They're going to befriend you. Somebody's going to try to befriend you. The question becomes, why?
Why?
So this sounds crazy. Why? You know what I'm saying? You're going to think, because you got this emotional thing, you're probably going to have your guard down and just be like, oh, the gas station attendant or the Uber driver wants to be my friend. You understand what I'm saying? Oh,
right.
They sound like they seem like a nice person. They want to be my friend. But let me tell you something. And this may become controversial, but it's the
truth. Just make it plain, babe. Just make it plain. Just make it plain.
You need to befriend people who have just as much or more as you do.
Please tell them. Say it again. Say it again.
Yeah. Befriend people who have just as much or more than you do. The reason being is there's a good chance, there's a more probability that person doesn't want anything from you. They don't need anything from you.
They're already situated.
That already has their own house. They travel. They got money. They work. They are professional. They don't need anything from you. So that you're not always the one that the other one needs something for. Oh, my mom is sick. Oh, my baby's sick. Oh, I don't pay my rent. Oh, this. I'm just being honest. So
just being real.
For you to do is to befriend people who already have, and they don't need anything.
Something going on.
I'm telling you, you're gonna save yourself a lot of. That's not to say you can't be nice to other people, that you can't be nice to people, you can't be friendly to people. I'm talking about when you talk about building your network of your social network of friends and people that you're going to want to be around and hang out with, or even date or whatever. I'm just saying, pick people who have something already.
Facts.
Really.
Facts. It is very, very true. And, I've always had this rule of thumb, and I definitely can attribute my lack of drama to the equal or greater than, rule. Because contrary to popular belief, I know a lot of Westerners have this concept, of charity coming to Africa. Like nobody has anything and everybody's struggling. A lot of people always say, well, if it's so nice in Ghana, why are they coming and all this stuff? There is a working class in Ghana. There are professionals. There are people that are educated. There's actually African people that's richer than you and me and Sister Yaa all combined. Now the challenge.
There's an upper middle class and there's
middle class and a high class.
Yeah. So you need to
plug in.
You have to be smart. You just have to be smart. You have to be smart. I'm not saying be mean to anybody. I'm not. I'm saying be wise. Be wise. That's all I'm saying. Be wise. Okay?
Absolutely. So, obviously we hear a lot of these scams, which is the last topic. This is a big topic, so I saved the best for last. Scams. Okay? Obviously a lot of people have heard about the scams, and some of you have become victims of the scams. You have to understand and be vigilant about your environment. This also ties into finding quality associations. I have lived by this rule. It's one of the reasons I live where I live, because a lot of the people that live in my building, they're working professionals. One of the ladies worked at a medical hospital. One of them, she actually works in Parliament, that lives in my building. So these people, they have jobs, they have careers, they have cars, they have money, they even have stuff more than me. you know, and I haven't become a victim of the scams because of a lot of those associations. You're going around to people that may be struggling, you know, depending on where you live, which this is also something you need to conceptualize. If you do this whole village living, you do this whole rural living, okay, take note of the people in your environment. If you're the one who has the big house, you go get, you know, 20 acres in the village. The rest of the community is struggling. The rest of the community is living in shanty houses. You come and put this big ass mansion in the middle of the village. You know, you're going to kind of really put a target on your head because they're going to be looking at you and maybe conspiring, or who does this, you know, person think they are. You need to be with the audience of your peers. In addition to not ignoring red flags, some of these scams are sophisticated, some of them are not. You know, you're getting with, you know, a lot of ladies. Me and Sister Yaa, we have heard the sob stories. I wish I had $1,000 every time. We have heard the sob stories of our age mates and older. We've heard this the story. I'm talking about ladies dating men 20 years their junior, 25 years their junior. What are you doing? What are you doing? You wouldn't do that in America. Are those guys approaching you in America or in the UK? Think about it. I know he might be hot.
Let me just tell you one thing. Generally speaking, ladies, whether you want to take this advice or not, if the guy is substantially younger than you, then you are really just an opportunity. That's it. Because first of all, his parents are not going to approve of it. Even if they pretend they see you as an opportunity. It's just an opportunity. Okay. Maybe you will take him abroad or something, or they already assume that we have money. You understand what I'm saying? But it's not serious. It's not for real. It's not. So, and I can write a book, and it would be a very thick book because we have so many of our sisters, so many. I mean, it goes for the men too. They don't. These young girls don't want an old man. They don't. The old men are tricking off. You understand what I'm saying? But that's just what it is. They need something from you, and so therefore, they can be very kind and loving and
convincing. You know.
It's that they want something from you, and that's just the reality of it. And some people may get offended, but the stories are too many for it to not be true. The stories are too many. Too many. You understand?
Absolutely. You know, there are some situations that have worked out. You know, people that have had longevity in their relationships and whatnot. But there's a lot of scams to counteract that. You know, romance scams, land scams, business investment schemes, or whatever.
That the age alone should tell you that it's not real. The age,
right?
Because I'm telling you, genuinely speaking, no young African man wants, not in his heart, wants an old woman. He doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't even matter how good you look for your age. It doesn't matter because you can't have children. It's not serious. It's just an opportunity. You understand what I'm saying? So it just is what it is. Whether you want to accept it or not, it's probably somebody looking here watching this saying, "Oh, not my man." Yes, your man too.
Sister Yaa, that's what they always say. They be like, "Oh, not Kwame. Kwame loved me. He took me to meet his mom. I know his sister." I be on video calls and we'd be like, no. Kwame is 25 years younger than you, fam. Yeah. It's not, I mean, you're the age of his mother or maybe even older. So, you know, these type of things, I mean, I'm not, and I want to say, because if the young lady,
if you want to kick it with him, and if you want to be a sugar mommy,
there you go. It ain't tricking if you got it, but don't get it twisted.
Yeah, do that. You know, if you an old man, if you in your 60s and you run around with a girl that's in her 20s and 30s, you got to know that she don't want no old ass husband that's her dad's age. She doesn't. Not really. Not really and truly. That's not, nobody wants that for real. Even here.
Did you like exactly think about yourself? Think, ladies. Hello, shout outs to the ladies in the room. Zoo and Shayna and Blockavelli, babe, they're shouting you out in the chat room as well. Law CA says, Sister Yaa, you taught me a lot and also supported my business. So big shout outs to Law CA for joining us today. Guys, if you're enjoying the conversation, make sure you hit the likes. You can send us some support. Make sure you subscribe so that you can let us know that you enjoyed this conversation. You know, but think back. Hello. It might be because I know my audience is between, 30 upwards, 40 upwards. When you was 19 and the body was banging, did you want yourself a 40-year-old man, ladies? No. All right. Fellas, when you was 25 and you had them 6 packs, you was athletic, you could run fast. Did you want yourself a 45-year-old woman or a 50-year-old woman? No, you didn't. So the shift is we're the adults. And, these young whippersnappers may be giving us attention or whatever. We just have to use discretion, And again, I have to say, I've done countless episodes about this, but for women in particular, age gap can be a huge issue on the continent. And also the issue of children. If you are older than him and maybe you've already given birth or you're not able to give birth for him, that's a big deal. If he doesn't already have kids, they might say it's not, but it is. And so you just have to know. But again, these are some of the understanding the cultural norms that will also help you dispel some of this stuff. Because if you don't know anything, you get there, you meet a hot whippersnapper and you're thinking, oh my God, he really likes me. If you don't know that age gap is a huge issue in Africa, if you don't know, he says, oh, I don't care if we don't have kids. I don't care if you have 4 kids from a previous relationship. Yes, the hell he does. His family does. Yeah. It's a big deal. So, these are things that can help you avoid, wahala and drama. So, Sister Yaa, do you have any? We've covered a lot of topics here. Shout out to anybody who just joined us. I see we have over 20 of you watching. So some of y'all going to have to catch the playback. We've talked about, a lot of the concerns of someone who did not have success in Ghana and is moving away. She discussed how her mental health was impacted living in Ghana. She talked about the infrastructure created additional stress for her. She had a lot of issues with apartment and housing. She talked about the difference of living on the ground versus her vacation experiences in Ghana, transportation, income source. She definitely didn't have her income sorted out. She worked in Ghana. She was a teacher in Ghana. And then she talked about how her social media was not profiting her, how promoting Ghana was not profiting her, and those kind of things. A lack of support system, as she is a Jamaican. She doesn't have family in Ghana. She came and didn't know people in Ghana. So that was not realistic. And we've just talked about scams. So Sister Yaa, do you have anything to add to our discussion today? Sister Yaa, you frozen? Oh no, she's frozen. Okay, babe. Sister Yaa is frozen. I can't hear her. Babe, I can't hear you if you can hear me. Babe, can you hear me? Okay, pop back in. Pop back in. Okay, so I'll give my final thought and Sister Yaa can come in and give her final thought. Obviously, I've talked about it throughout this episode. I do personally believe a lot of people are coming to Ghana prematurely. A lot of people are coming uninformed. A lot of people are coming with a very romanticized version of Africa. A lot of people are coming and they haven't really traveled and they don't know what international life is like. I think that if you want success in Ghana, it wouldn't hurt you to take time to prepare. Ghana's not going anywhere. Okay. Ghana has been existing since the beginning of our lives and beyond. Okay. So taking maybe a year or two or several months or a few trips to put things together is in your benefit. It makes sense. You know, you're not missing anything. You might feel like, oh, I just want to be there. You know, it's the ancestors are calling me. Yeah, I get it. But unless you want longevity, a plan is absolutely necessary to help you move ahead. I've never heard anyone say, I really regret that blueprint that I put down. I really regret those trips I took to Ghana. I really regret, you know, coming and staying for a few months before I made this move. But I have heard people regret not doing those things. And now, after people lack success after a few years, they come out with the laundry list of what went wrong. And some of these things probably could have been addressed or at least considered before the move if you did what you know, needed to do. And I want to also remind you, there are people living happily and successfully on the continent. Okay. If Ghana was a no-go area, then none of us would be able to survive. All of us eventually would fade. The people with the longevity, you know, they have a plan in place. You know, that's what differentiates a lot of us in our situations, in addition to the fact that we love the country. You know, I feel like for me, Ghana's good for me. I can't see myself living anywhere else. You know what I mean? I don't have interest of living anywhere else. Like, it's my last stop. I love it. You know what I mean? And so that's just me. So that means that I haven't really given myself the way out or the plan B or whatever. You know what I'm saying? My objectives are to make my life in Africa work, because that's where I actually get my freedom. You know, I hope Sister Yaa, if you're there, come back, babe, come back. Are you there? Sister Yaa, are you there? Hello, come back, babe. Where you at? I don't know, Sister Yaa. I'm waiting for her to come and give her last. She's calling me, so she might not be able to come back in. All right, guys. Well, I hope that this message was meaningful for some of you guys. Maybe hearing someone who, you know, I mean, Sister Yaa, she's like, I mean, I know I'm the grandmother of Ghana. She's like the great grandmother of Ghana, because she's been there longer than most diasporans I know. You know what I mean? And I think us having this conversation, sharing our thoughts, and kind of reviewing some of the problems and how to deal with those problems, or how to improve your situation to avoid some of those problems. I hope this was very meaningful for you guys. If this is your first time hearing from the one and only African Superstar, subscribe to my platform. And in other news, I want to let you know I do offer private tours to Ghana. We can schedule them and plan them according to your needs, your timing. I do have a group tour coming up October 16th through the 22nd. Jesus. That's available on www.tayeahuru.com. And I just dropped new music yesterday. Shout outs to Ajike. She already got her copy of my brand new track, which is called Love of My Life. It's a banger. I think, Sister Yaa, you heard my new song, didn't you? Yeah, she heard that. It's a banger. So y'all got to hear my song. I'm glad she's here. So, Sister Yaa, final thought on this topic, and we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, I don't want to discourage anybody. I just would like for you to really take your time, make a few visits. And like Gina said, not during the holiday season. I mean, some extended visits.
Yeah.
1 or 2 weeks is not going to get it. You know, if you can stay a month or so at a time, you know, do that a couple of times and just really see if it's really something
for you
do, you know, day to day, long term. One thing we did not touch on that I don't know if we want to have a whole nother discussion about it some other time, Gina, is healthcare.
Oh yeah, go ahead, baby. That's your final thought. Go ahead.
You need to be okay. If healthcare is if you have health issues and you know you need care, because it's a cash and go system. Even in an emergency situation, it's cash and carry. You know, in the United States, what we're used to, or in Canada, you just go
insurance. Yeah.
You even if you don't have insurance, if it's an emergency, you go to the emergency room, you're going to be
They'll take
treated.
care of you.
They're
Yeah.
going to see you. But in Ghana, it's not that way. If you don't, if you even in a life or death situation and don't have money in healthcare, as somebody who's now in her 50s, you know, I'm very much into, preventative
Yeah.
healthcare, and it's
Right.
a concern for, and I have a mother who's in her 70s, and I'm an only child, and at some point my mother has, probably have to live with me, and I have to ask myself, do I really want to take my elderly mother to Ghana? I don't for me, I don't think I do. You understand what I'm saying? So I foresee myself at some point going, regularly between the two places. I'll probably take her over there for a few months at a time, just to be there, be at my house, and then come back. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
of healthcare, I if y'all have some specific questions, I'm gonna tell y'all. Like a lot of times, they don't have the equipment, especially if you're going to these like local neighborhood. They say
Oh yeah.
hospital, but is it a hospital? Is it? Are you a hospital? Are you? You know, and,
Definitely.
and most of those are privately owned. So when my son got sick, remember Gina?
I remember when Ansar got sick. You took him to Bloom, right? Did you end up taking him to Bloom?
I ended up taking him. Well, because his fever was so high and it was raining that day and the road was flooded on Coswell Highway was flooded, and just to keep him in the traffic that long, I said, okay, let me go to one of these hospitals close to my house. And I did that. These people, when I tell you, by the next day, I said, look, they missed. I didn't know. They said he had yellow feet. They said he had malaria and typhoid. They gave him paracetamol and IV, and he broke out in a rash all over. Like you saw a whole rash break all over his face and neck. And I said, hey, whatever you give him, he's allergic to it. Don't you see he's, but they were trying to bring the fever down. So I said, no, just let me turn the cold water on in the shower, and I'll put him in there. I took all his clothes off, just to get the shower, the fever down.
Get him cooler. Yeah.
But his whole body broke out like instantly. You could
hives.
see it.
Was it hives?
You could see it, right? So, do you know? I got that fever, but throughout the night, the fever was coming back again. It was coming back. These people gave him the same thing. After we just saw, and I was like, "What the hell?" And then all the bumps. So I said, "Oh shit." I just said, disconnect, take everything off my kid, you know what I'm saying? And I loaded him up in the car, and I took him to University of Ghana Medical Center.
Okay, yeah,
and now that's a really nice facility. It's modern, it's up to date, but it's still cash and carry.
Cash and carry.
I had that money. It wasn't an issue for me because at the end of the day, I had the money. But if I didn't have the money, I could just call my son's father and say he's sick, and I need this money. You know what I'm saying? Or call my husband or my parents or my adult.
Get some help. Yeah.
But if you don't have that, and they did well. They flushed everything that the other people gave him. They just flushed him out. They put IV, saline, and flushed his whole system out. And the bumps and stuff came out. And then whatever they ran tests, they said he did not have malaria or typhoid.
So did they find out what it was? What was the cause?
Yeah, they ended up saying he just had a viral infection.
Okay.
Viral infection. But I mean, they kept him there in the children's pediatric. They have a children's pediatric at the University of Ghana. So that's a really nice, modern, new facility that has equipment and everything. I mean, you would have thought you were in the US if you had gone there. But you're going to pay for that. That's what I'm saying. And you got to pay up front. There is no such thing as getting a bill later. Somebody, when you go to the hospital in Ghana, even if you're in a car accident, you got to get registered in the hospital. Somebody got to pay a registration fee. You got to pay for your meds up front, for your everything, your IV. You have to pay for that. It's cash and carry. You need to know that.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
you have children
That's
and stuff like that, you need to know this.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So, that is another topic. The hospital that Sister Yaa is talking about is actually not far from my place. University of Legon is like right at East Legon. I mean, University of Ghana has a East Legon campus. And I know there are some other modern places, but just like everything else in Ghana as well, a lot of things in Africa, it is cash and carry, like she said. So I think this goes into your planning too. If you are living on the continent, these are things you need to think about. If you're coming over there and you're barely making ends meet and your struggle life, you're putting yourself also in jeopardy if, for instance, an emergency happens, things like that, because you need cash. If you do have money, then that will make life comfortable for you. That's just the reality. But if you don't, that can also be a hardship and definitely something, that needs to be considered. I mean, again, this young lady, she has a young daughter, and I'm pretty sure based off of her experience, she probably didn't take into consideration healthcare as well, having that money ready if there were an emergency and things like that. So thank you for raising that up, because I think that was a valuable topic. And I know, Sister Yaa and I are really good friends. We talk on a frequent, and we talked about this, and I know this is a big thing for her, the healthcare and things like that. So
we do have a lot of diasporans who died in Ghana. I mean, y'all have to know that, because because of they didn't have the right money to get, where you live, how far are you from the hospital?
right.
If you want to go live all the way in Cape Coast because it's cheaper, well, I can tell you right now, the people from Cape Coast tell you me straight up, the hospital over there, they suck. If you want really good, the best quality,
Got to come to Accra.
You got to come all the way to Accra, and then you got to go to one of the better hospitals.
Yep. And see, again, that's what, if you're doing your research, when you come, you survey that stuff. I've been inside some of the local hospitals that are in my area just to know where they are. You know what I mean? If something happens and I need, okay, take me to Bloom, take me to University of Ghana, kind of thing, because you need to familiarize yourself. And I mean, I know a lot of these things, it's very different for us. Coming up in America, you have an emergency, you're going to call 911. If in Ghana, they don't even have a very viable ambulance situation. If you're having issues, your friends will, transport you themselves in their own vehicle or get a taxi for you. I've even seen people on Okadas, heading to nearby hospitals. So, I mean, I think this is very valuable. People do need to be aware of this thing. Personally, I haven't talked about it much because I haven't had much encounters with the healthcare system in Ghana. I've only been to some dermatologists, and like she said, it was cash and carry, which I quite enjoyed. I was able to just go there, pay, get my service, and things like that. But take this into consideration with your planning when you're not just in Ghana, but other places in Africa. You need to think about this. If you're moving with the family, it goes without saying, because Sister Yaa didn't have her first interaction because of something with her. She had it because her son got sick. And kids get sick. Kids get, colds, flus, broken bones, all kind of stuff. So, if you're coming with your children, definitely don't overlook the healthcare system, okay, or the healthcare situation, or having that nest egg, for emergency travel, immigration, whatever. The list is long. It's cash and carry in Africa. That's what you got to know.
And let me tell you something. Malaria, typhoid, all that stuff is real over there. You're not used to that over here. So you have to be mindful of that just in your day-to-day life. You have to be, cholera is real. Cholera,
right.
Recently had a cholera outbreak.
Yeah, they did.
So these things are real that you are not accustomed to dealing with. And so you got to be mindful a lot of like mosquitoes. You got to be mindful of flies. That's why all this stuff comes from. You just got to be mindful of hygiene when you're buying food from places and stuff like that. So you got to be constantly aware, because you can die. Okay. You can die.
Well, let it be said we didn't romanticize this episode, right, babe. We gonna end with that. You could die. Thanks for watching. No, but thank you, Sister Yaa, for your time today. taking that time out with your family. Make sure you give my regards to Ayana and the baby.
All right.
And
I'll do
I'll
that.
talk to you soon so much, sweetie.
Okay.
I really appreciate it. Big
Thanks for
shout out to
having
Sister
me.
Yaa.
Everybody have a
Yes,
great
yes.
day. Okay.
All right, sweetie. Take care. Yes, family. Okay, so that wraps up this episode. Big shout out to Sister Yaa, man. She made it happen, and I'm really delighted. I haven't done one of these in probably years. Can y'all remember the last time I did a collaborative episode on the channel? It's been a while. But I only ever bring people that I can personally vouch for. You know, Sister Yaa is a very close friend of mine and a stand-up individual, and her input on these topics was so valuable. Big shout outs to the few of you guys that were in the chat room. I love you guys. Thank you for being on code SMP all day. Our mission statement, strategy, maturity, and patience. And like I was saying before I closed out, big shout outs to GK, one of our members only. One of the first to get my brand new track, Love of My Life. Hello. Yes. And for any of you guys asking, no, that's not about anyone specific. That's how good I am in music that makes you feel like it's about someone specific. It's about an imaginary version of my love, the love of my life. Yes. So go check it out. Spotify, Amazon, Tidal, here on YouTube, Audio Mac, Spotify, Apple. And let me know what you think about the brand new track. Okay, family? It's been real. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. I'm happy to see you too, Lost CA. Not sure how we have never met, but I enjoyed your live. I subscribed to the channel. Welcome to the African Superstar family. Yes, I'm the one and only. Make no mistake. You won't regret being a part of our family. Okay, family. Until we meet again. Yes. Stay black and true. If you ain't black, just stay true.